All right, Jacob's out of here. Jacob, have a good night, buddy.
See you, fellas. Go Pack. Don't do that.
On the way out. All right. So, there you go. There's your coaching talk around the league. Let's talk a little Packer player here. Bill Huber put this out. The Packers' Edgerrin Cooper, Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher, and D'Amico Ryans are the only rookies since at least 1999 with at least 80 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 13 tackles for a loss, and 4 passes defended, according to StatHit. So that's some pretty good obviously some pretty good company to be in there, fellas. I thought we would highlight that. It seems like every week we're coming up with a new flurry of statistics that just shows Edgerrin Cooper is going to be special. I know the coaching staff didn't think he was ready early in the year, but if I'm being 100% real here and a little critical, I'm still pissed off they didn't throw him on the field week 1. Like, just get him out there and let him learn. It really makes me wonder, could we have won another game or two? You know, could he have been a little more prepared for the playoffs with that extra game or two? Of course, with that kind of workload on a college player not used to playing that many games, could have got hurt too, right, Tim? You never know what's going to happen.
He had the leg injury, that cheated him out of a lot of camp. And I guess I got a little different look. I guess my take is that I'm kind of glad they didn't throw him out there too soon, because we could have had a Marshawn Lloyd situation with him and ended up losing him for the whole year. So better late than never. I think there's truth to the fact that you're right, Clay. If he had played, a full season, by his end of year stats would have been even more impressive than he already put on tape for us, So, but I do think that they were not handling him with kid gloves. I think they knew he was ready, but I also think, Goody and the boys over there, they know who they drafted, and, you don't want to risk that, long term. So I think that's ultimately why they didn't throw him out there right away. When the season started. But I think you're right, Clay, man. Going forward, this guy, get your Edgerrin Cooper jerseys. Normally I tell people to wait a couple years with the rookies before you go buy a jersey, because you never know how quick people can be out the door. But I think buying an Edgerrin Cooper 56 is a pretty safe bet right now. I think he's going to be in Green Bay an awful long time.
I agree. Absolutely. And he's got the right attitude too, right, Emilio?
Yep.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, you get the Instagram pictures of Michael Myers coming out and everything like that. He's got that kind of dog. He wants to work, and I mean, he probably wanted all of that responsibility first week, right? But it's just, you can't inundate the guy. Well, wait. I mean, he's just got out of training to do well in the combine, all that stuff. Now he's got to come out, play football again at NFL speed. You get a lot of reps in practice, and in the preseason, we were excited, and you kind of just got to build them up to it. You can't make that jump super fast. Let's, dip the toes in the water before we do a cannonball. We don't know if there's a rock at the bottom. And I'm glad that we checked the floor before we sent them in, and we're good to go now. But that's really exciting to see that we have that kind of talent that we hit on in the draft, because we've been begging for, some defensive. I mean, it's good for people to see, put stats to a visual, like, hey, he performed really well and we drafted him. We did good on defense, versus everyone kind of dogging on the rest of the D picks. So, it's awesome for Coop.
Yeah. And the big thing that sticks out to me here, Tim, is when you look at the players that are mentioned here with the comps, Brian Urlacher, what was, he played in Chicago, right? What was he good at? They ran that Tampa 2 defense, him covering the seam, playing that kind of that match principle with the deep third center, right? And then D'Amico Ryans made his hay in San Francisco playing in this same very defense. So it's like the fact that that's the 2 players are the only rookies since 1999 to have these kind of stats, right, or these specific stats. And it just so happens they both play in the same style of defense. And, oh, by the way, Halfley likes to run more Tampa 2 than anyone else in that coaching tree. It's just pretty wild how that lines up.
I was going to say, it really just shows how, awesome it is that we drafted Coop, because he ended up in Halfley's system here. The stars aligned, the timing was right. We had a changing of the guard, a change in system on the defensive side of the ball. You draft Cowboy Coop, and here he is. The rest is history. But you're right. And it leads even more credence to what Halfley said day one when he got here, that he wanted to put players in their best position to be successful out there on the field. And you see it in how he utilizes Edge Coop. And every week we saw towards the end of the season, he was trying to unlock other attributes of his game, We even saw him on, lined up at edge a couple of times and pressuring off the outside. So, I don't think there's a ceiling for Edgerrin Cooper in this defense at all.
Yeah, definitely. Moving along to another player that really stood out this year, obviously a huge free agent signing along with Xavier McKinney, was Josh Jacobs. PFF Green Bay Packers put out on Twitter, Josh Jacobs is just the second running back in the PFF era to have a single season with 90-plus rushing grade, 85-plus receiving grade, looking back at the 2024 free agent running back class. So, again, just the second running back in the PFF era to have a single season with a 90-plus rushing grade and an 85-plus receiving grade. Obviously, you got to credit Matt LaFleur here, Emilio, for utilizing him correctly, right?
Absolutely. And that was something maybe the Raiders didn't do. They leaned on him a lot on the run game. Matt said, hey, Jacobs has hands. Let's use him. And I'm happy he did. I think we can dive a little bit more into screen games this next year if we can get the line, to hit those and all that. But I love that we were able to use him in the pass game, and kind of different than when Aaron Jones ran more wheel routes and fades and stuff like that. I like how we got the ball out to Jacobs kind of in space in the backfield and let him do the work. We saw that he's had over 1,000 yards after contact. The dude doesn't need to be open in space 10 yards downfield. Just get the ball in his hands.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else to add to the Josh Jacobs statistic here, fellas? Anything else?
No, I think Emilio was spot on.
All right. Let's move it along here. Some other news that cracked here earlier. We were kind of talking about it before we get to the creepy video there again of Ben Johnson that we tweeted out. Green Bay continued to interview for their vacant defensive line coaching vacancy. Jonathan Jones on Twitter at JJones9. I think he's got like over 50,000 followers. So I'm assuming this is an accurate report. The Packers interviewed Eric Washington for their vacant defensive line coach position. Sources tell NFL on CBS. Washington served as the Bears defensive coordinator this past season and was with the Bills for 4 seasons before that. Listen, the Bears can be a dumpster fire at times, but that defense played really solid this year. I think we would all agree, right? Matter of fact, I'll go try to pull the stats here. I want to get your all's take. On the surface, what do you think about a hire like this coming from this Bears, kind of poaching this guy from the Bears defensive staff, seeing that they're going to have a complete shakeup over there?
Yeah, I think you got to kind of look in every nook and cranny. Like you say, Clay, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Let's get them over here and figure out what they're doing. But I think you just have to get everyone's sort of take. Who's going to be able to fit Hafley's system? If Hafley knows he's going to be great or he has the skills he wants him to have to teach the team, all right, let's go with it. I'm not going to be mad at the dude just because he was at the at the Bears and all that. So I'm for it, man. If he's for it.
Yeah, I agree. Coaches, players, front office, whatever. Sometimes you gotta do what you can to try and poach talent from within the division when you have an opportunity. And I think what you said is so true, Emilio. If the guy gels with the other coaches on the staff, he fits in with what Hafley's trying to accomplish. You certainly got to consider it. I'm still holding out hope for Coach Ogabasi possibly getting a promotion, but there's no reason to believe that's going to happen. I just like the fact that the Packers are not rushing into this, no pun intended. And they're just lining up interviews and seeing who's the most prepared and who fits the mold. And I have full faith in this organization to make the right decision when it comes to making a hire there.
Got it. Yeah, and digging in here, boys, I thought Chicago's defense played way better than they actually did. Man, they're 17th in points per game in scoring, and they're in the bottom half in rushing yards per attempt, passing yards per pass attempt, overall defense yards per play. They were in the bottom third, really the bottom quarter, to be honest with you. Trying to look at their takeaways per game, see if that's something that stood out. It did. They were not in takeaways, so they were top 10 in takeaways. But other than that, they were pretty mediocre. So that doesn't mean that Eric Washington wouldn't be a good defensive line coach. It's just that kind of surprised me a little bit. Am I wrong there? Did you guys feel like Chicago had a better defense than those numbers?
At times, it looked that way.
Yeah,
and certainly against us in that first game at times,
Mm-hmm. Right. And to think, you're talking Bills 4 seasons before that. How much do you like Sean McDermott? You know what I mean?
Right.
How much do you think he learned and picked up from him as a head coach and other guys there? So and I think the Bills have done a decent job with their D-line with not super big household names or, a dominant 3-tech or anything like that. So that kind of gets me excited, looking back that far.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so there you go. J. Cole says Aaron Whitecotton should be hired. Is that the guy from the Jets? Am I thinking right, fellas?
Yeah.
Yep. That was the first interview, right?
I think it was. Yeah, it seems like it was. Yeah. So we'll see how that shakes out. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about, if it's good with you guys, do you guys have a topic you want to hit on before we shift gears into some potential free agent signings? Anything?
We should go. Yeah, free agents. Let's do it.
Because one of the things that we really keyed in on, and I keyed in on specifically, was all right, at the top of the free agent market, you got money to spend. Where do we want to add a piece here or there? Then I started combing through and going, okay, who are some players that maybe are a little less popular in terms of whether you want to sign them or not, right? So here is a short list of players that I thought, that wouldn't be a bad signing for the right price. All right, so let's just go down it here. Calais Campbell, you guys remember, second-round pick. I think he was drafted in Baltimore, if I remember correctly. No, actually Arizona.
2008.
Isn't that crazy? He is 38 years old, and you go, no way, I don't want him on my team. Look at this, boys. He did it again.
Look at the numbers.
This is crazy. 82.3 PFF grades, 616 snaps. 80 the year before, 79, 80, 74, 90, 90, 91, 91, 84, 82, 75, 76, 74. He obviously signed with Miami this year. I believe it was Miami. Played for the Miami Dolphins, where he just wanted to go try to win a freaking ring, right? This is a dude, if he can perform in the 70s, according to PFF, and you just kind of generalize that where that play would be, he would be our best interior defensive lineman this year, right?
Yep.
I want to get your all's take on it because to me, if someone had said, hey, Clayton, you want to sign a 38-year-old defensive lineman for a year to try to plug a gap, I would go, you're crazy. But when you look at his production, man, I mean, how can you argue with that, right?
He's basically been the same player since 2014. I mean, you're talking the last 10, 11 seasons, he's been the same dude. The only thing I see there just looking at the PFF grades is he seems to have slipped in his tackle grade the last probably 5 years or so. If you scroll down, you can see the tackle grade's kind of a little low. But again, we're not necessarily looking for that. Like you just said, we're looking for him to, stuff a gap, get in the way, be a menace in the middle. I don't know. There's worse names out there to suggest. I mean, yeah, you see the tackle grades are kind of down since 2019, but
good point. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, though, you brought this up as, a 1-year fix because that's what that would be. He's 38. I mean, it's a year-to-year situation for him for the rest of his career. But I mean, I'm not going to laugh at that at all. I wouldn't laugh that off. We can call him grandpa all you want. He doesn't play like a grandpa.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Amelia, what do you think, man? You in or out? And again, it's all going to come down to the number attached, obviously, right?
Absolutely. I kind of get where Greg's coming from, and I'm not sure on that tackling where we're trying to shore up all of that. 38 going on 39. Do I want him in the middle? And no, not exactly. Just because, like, I want the dude. I mean, what's he fluctuating? Scroll up. How many snaps is he getting a game?
35, 23, 29, 36, 34. Let's jump to the last five. 43, 32, 37, 48, 35. He's a freak, man.
So energy-wise, he still got it. I'm not opposed to that. The issue would be I would rather try to grab him maybe week 3 or 4 if what we have not working out, not panning out, if he's still sitting around. But he's a great player, so he's probably going to get picked up. But it would be one of those where I would kind of wait for a yellow sticker to hop on.
Yeah.
For sure. He's a dude who would totally fit in here, though. As far as off the field, that type of guy totally would fit in Green Bay.
And again, we're talking about, people see the tackle grade, and I've seen people in the chat going, how's his grade so high? Look at his run defense. His run defense, that is him doing his job on defense. The tackle grade is exactly what it sounds like, his ability to tackle the ball carrier, right? Pass rush has been solid, been kind of steady, you know what I mean? Nothing crazy. But the other thing is, I'm sure he plays very, very, very fundamentally sound. What's the big thing we've been talking about all year long? How many times did Enigbare get flagged for something?
Yep.
How many times did guys line up off sides? This is what you get in a veteran player.
Yep.
And again, it's
Lance
fun.
Campbell's not going to line up on the ball. Promise you that. Not going to happen.
And again, it's fun being the youngest team in the league, but the youngest team in the league has never won the Super Bowl. So it's like, if you're going to plug and play veteran players, these are the type of guys we're talking about. And again, for me on the surface, it'd have to be a really, really, really team-friendly deal, $3 or $4 million for the year. I don't know if he would go for that. And here's the thing. That wall's got to be coming, right? If it hits this year and you pay somebody $8 or $9 million to come in for 1 year, you're screwed, right? You kind of screwed your whole defensive line room. So
Respect Oranges says Campbell is at an age where he can tell if a storm is coming just by the aching in his hip.
I relate to that. Let me tell you right now. I relate to that. All right, moving along to the next one. A lot of people are going to get excited over this one. We got an edge defender. Y'all ready for it? Khalil Mack. All right.
Return of the Mac.
33 years old, right? If you put him opposite of Rashawn Gary and throw him into that rotation, how much money would you be willing to pay for 1 or 2 years of Khalil Mack? Now you think, okay, he's old, Clayton. He's probably going to hit the wall. Look at these PFF grades, fellas. This year, 90.2. Last year, 91.8. 71, 73, 92, 86, 90, 90, 92, 91, 86. If you get somebody in the 80s, opposite of Rashawn Gary, for the right price, and again, I don't think Khalil Mack's going to line up and say, I'll pay for pennies, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's another player that does kind of pique your interest a little bit. What if we went out and drafted, let's say we drafted one of these top guys like a Walter Nolan fell to us, right? You took him with the 23rd pick. And in free agency, you sign somebody like Khalil Mack to a 2-year deal, which is essentially a 1-year deal at 33 years old. Imagine a defensive front with Rashawn Gary on one side, Khalil Mack on the other. You got Devontae Wyatt and a young Walter Nolan rotating in and out with Kenny Clark, who Kenny's is what it is. We think his best football's probably behind him. At least that's what the recent tape suggests. And then, of course, you got Carl Brooks behind that. That feels like you really bolstered the trenches, right? Now, the reason that I feel like we really, really struggle against the Eagles is on the offensive side of the ball in the trenches. But this is just one of those players. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. What do y'all think of somebody like Khalil Mack for the right price?
Yeah, let's go. I wouldn't mind seeing him back in the North, with us, for a year or two. But like you said, Clay, he's not. There's no sweetheart deals with him. He's about his paper, right? But we remember he was a menace when he played for the Bears. He was a problem for us 2 times a year, every year. So I think he's still got gas in the tank. He's not, this guy's on the wrong side of 30 also, but looks like in good shape. I see he took a dip in snaps compared to 22 and 23. I don't know if he had injuries this year that he was dealing with, but that dude's a physical freak, and we're talking about a 1 to 2 year patch here. We're not talking about the future of our defensive front. So I'm not opposed to him at all. As far as the fitting in part, I don't know. I don't know what type of dude Khalil Mack is. But I think he's a hell of a player, and I'm not opposed to bringing him here for 1 or 2 years.
Looking at his market value, and again, Emilio, this can be off sometimes. It's typically a little bit more than this. What would you guess his market value is according to Spot Track?
20 million.
Lower.
16.
Lower.
13.
Lower.
11.
They got him at 6.8 million. If you tell us you could get Khalil Mack for 6.8 million, sign me.
Okay.
Do I think that'll happen? I don't. But that's where the market value is. Just wanted to mention it. And the comps they drew out was a Kyle Van Noy, Brandon Graham, Jadeveon Clowney, and Bud Dupree. There's multiple reasons why they drew those comps, obviously. And it kind of compared, different things. Gameplay percentage, right? Khalil Mack, Tim, to answer your question, this year, 97% is what it said. So it must have been something where their offense had the ball far more often. And that makes sense with their boy, Coach Harbaugh over there running the hell out of the football, right? So they probably control the time of possession a little bit more. Tackles per game, he led all of those guys with 2.33. Sacks per game, he led every one of those comps at 0.70. Fumbles, forced fumbles per game, he led all of those comps at 0.70. Stops per game, he led all of them with 2.27. Quarterback hurries per game, He led all of them at 2.82, and his rating was a 91. Now, what they're taking off of is obviously the age, right? The median prime percentage change and the average prime percentage change, and that's where they came up with 1 year, 6.7 million. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna always support my alma mater boy there. But honestly, out of everybody that's over 30 that we've talked about bringing in, wide receiver, everybody, I would say that Khalil would be. I would honestly probably pull Khalil before I would pull Tay, and just say, hey, if we're gonna bring in a dog opposite of Gary and keep that rotation, it's not like we didn't have Preston Smith at the beginning of the year and expected him to produce, right? So I mean, yeah, we gave Cox and Mosby a bunch of reps, and LVN got out there more and all that stuff. But if we think that that's something that could take us over the edge, I would 100% bring him in.
Yeah, Ron Sample makes a great point. Matt got some one-on-ones with Bosa on the other side. Good. He's going to get more one-on-ones with Rashad and Gary on the other side. They got to pick their poison, right? And again, do I think this will happen? Probably not. We're just weighing out some different options. This is the time to do this before free agency gets cranked up here in, I don't know, about another month, right? So did Ansley coach him? J. Cole said. It's a great question. Yes, he would have.
2022, right.
Yep, he would have coached him for 2 years, I believe, 22 and 23. Yep. So there is a connection. Might be a little recruiting there. Don't know.
And I mean, and CJN said, isn't age with Matt going to come into play at some point? Definitely. But I would rather take the, 6 years, 7 years younger on Khalil than you were with Calais Campbell. Nothing against Campbell, but I'm just saying, like, I would, if we're going to spend that kind of money on a 3-tech, I would need one a little younger. If we're going to pull $8 or $9 million to an edge, I mean, we had Preston out there at the beginning of the season. We can't forget that.
Yeah. Ron Sanville says Mac is talking retirement. Hey, well, maybe he changes his mind if you go, hey, you want to win a Super Bowl?
He's still chasing. That's it, too. He's still chasing a ring, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. There ain't nobody. He damn sure didn't win one with Chicago. We know that. Hell, Vegas.
Nope.
So played with Vegas. Obviously, it was Oakland or Los Angeles, whoever at the time. So he didn't win one there. Yeah, he hasn't won one yet. So
get ready to go.
If you're gonna take a discount, now watch the Chiefs swoop in and get him. He finished with 12 sacks next year.
Yep. Could it be the Bobby this year?
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the next one. Zach Bond. You guys have heard that name this year, right? Zach Bond is 28 years old. He's set to be a free agent. Will the Eagles re-sign him? We'll see, right? But he's a third-round pick, obviously, out of New Orleans. He was drafted in 2020. This year, had a pretty decent year as he finished with a PFF grade of 90.2. Now, that was obviously his best year, but he did play the majority or the most snaps in his career with 1,075 this year. I think I looked it up earlier, too, where he lined up alignment snaps. So he was in the box 740 snaps. He was on the defensive line 157 snaps. He played the slot 172. He was a very versatile type linebacker. I don't think they blitzed him much. I want to say they dropped him into coverage most of the time. And look at what we got here, boys, a 91.5. Now, listen, let's be honest. One of these does not belong, right, guys? And that's the Vic Fangio effect. Look at his PFF grade, 65, 44, 50, 71. He gets with Fangio, jumps to a 90. Funny how that works out when you get a good veteran coach like that. So I'm going to go see if I can pull his market on the surface. What do you guys think about our boy Zach Don here?
I think there is a 99.9% chance that the Eagles re-sign him.
I agree.
Hell of a player. I don't see them letting him go. I don't know, though. Be interesting. I'm sure there's going to be a hell of a bidding war, for him. But I think Philly's going to do what it takes to keep him around.
Yeah, his performance on the field this year definitely kept him around. But if we were to sign him or try to go after him, I feel like it would kind of be could be the reverse Campbell sort of situation. Where you go out and reach for a guy that played well that year. Maybe he gives you one decent year to 72 or 75 or something, and then he could fall right off. And him being young, we would expect him to play for 3-4 years. So I would I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, and his market value, calculated market value, is set at $9.7 million. 2 years, $19.4 million, average annual salary of $9.7. That's where they've got him listed at. So you could get him, if they're saying you could get him at $10 million. To me, I'm a little more hesitant on this one because chances are he's going to revert back to those old grades, right? And if you overpay for that 1 year of production, that would suck, right? If you give him a 3-year deal, you stuck with him for 2 years and you kind of stumble. And also, where's he going to play? You're taking Quay off the field to put this guy on the field, and we know Goody loves him. I think we're looking for more of a linebacker that $3 to $4 million range that you can get a really good deal on to plug and play as your third backer in that 4-3, or like we said, maybe draft a couple of them to fill that void. I still hope Eric Wilson comes back on a minimal contract, and then you go and add one more. I wouldn't be upset if they went after Bond. I think there's too many things that point to he's going to be back with the Eagles, and I don't think the Packers will be willing to overpay for him. So.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So there's Zach Bond. Let's move on to the next one. And again, we're kind of digging deep here. I just wanted to do our due diligence in free agency, as we've already hit kind of the top guys that we think that the Packers should go after. Here is one, Derek Barnett from the Houston Texans. Similar defense, obviously, this year. PFF grade of 74.2. Last year, he started in Philly, went to Houston later on. He had an 82.4. So last 2 years, he stabilized pretty good. You feel a little bit better than about him than Zach Bond in terms of, hey, this is who this guy might really be, especially in this similar defense, right? The Fangio defense is going to be a little bit different than what Hafley runs, obviously. So what do you guys think about our boy Derek Barnett here, man? Obviously, he's when you look at what position he's playing, I'm trying to remember, is he edge? I think he's in.
Got him listed as an edge, yeah.
I think he's an edge, if I remember correctly. Let's see where he lined up at. Defensive line, 413 snaps. So, yeah, all 413 snaps were on the defensive line. So this is a guy that you may be able to bolster your defensive line up with some veteran presence there, like we talked about as well.
Yeah, and he's not super old, right? 28, he'll be 29. Yeah, I think it'd be fun to watch a little tape on him. I'm not super familiar with his game, but what's the market at on him?
I'm going to see if they've got one. They may not have one, but let me just double check here. I'll let you know in just a second.
Because at 28 going on 29, that's not necessarily a 1 or 2 year deal. You know, you could get a little more out of a guy like that.
There is no market value on him, but his most recent contract here, his cap hit was $1.9 million with Houston. That was talking about good value.
Somebody really affordable, probably.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Go Vols, Clay. Go Vols, and he was a first round 14th pick.
Yeah, he's a former
Sammy Watkins this year. That's our Sammy Watkins.
He's a former Vol, but he got a nappy beard, man. He need to clean that up or something. That's rough to see right there. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. So there is another one, Derek Barnett. I keep wanting to call him Nick Barnett, and it takes me back to really, really great memories of a former linebacker there in Green Bay. Up next, we got another defensive lineman here. And,
is he a 3-tech?
He's an edge. He's an edge defender as well. I'm telling you, man, the defensive line, outside of Calais Campbell, I found myself going, nah. So we're just kind of combing through and look at these other positions. We got Shaquille Barrett from Tampa Bay. This year, obviously, he didn't play many snaps at all, only 17, as he was coming back from an injury, I believe. And again, PFF grades, let's go present day and go backwards. 75, 73, 68, 81, 74, 77, 74, 82, 84, 74. So he's been a solid player. Let's assume the injury is healed, everything's good to go there. What do you guys think about somebody like Shaquille Barrett? I'll see if I can pull up the value on him real quick. Edge defender, by the way.
6'2", 250. Played at Colorado State, drafted in 2014. He would probably be maybe third on the list. Honestly, I would say Mack, the Houston guy, Barnett, and then Barrett here would probably be my order. He looks like he plays more like a 3-4 kind of linebacker, being at left outside. So that would be my only other worry. Bringing him in as an edge, turning him into a 4-3 kind of thing. That would be my only pushback.
Yeah, and there's no market value, Tim. His contract last year, though, is showing his cap hit as $134,000. That's got to be wrong, unless he was one of those outside of the top 51. It says his base salary was 1.2, and he is an unrestricted free agent this year. So,
I'm with Emilio on this one. I think maybe towards the bottom of the list. If you're going to look at them, because that's true, man. You got to consider, the whole round peg and square hole kind of thing. Will he fit into what we're trying to do?
Right.
But I don't know. I just feel like at edge, like, yeah, I want to get better. We can always get better, but I don't know about taking a chance on this guy.
So Turtle says, "F all these ancient dinosaurs. Go get Jack Sawyer. Jack Sawyer is a dog. He is a dog, no doubt about it." All right, so there's Shaq Barrett. Emilio, anything to add to it?
No, I think that's it, man. He would be lower on the list for sure.
Yeah. All right, up next, Tutu Atwell. You guys remember that name earlier this year? I looked down and said, dang, he's going to be a free agent this year. So wide receiver from the LA Rams. He would already know the terminology, pretty much know the system, as Matt LaFleur runs a Sean McVay offense. Way more of a Sean McVay offense than a Kyle Shanahan offense, that's for sure. We played against him. We talked about it. I remember leading up that week going, hey, Tutu Atwell's a dude you got to watch for. They'll play him all over the place. They use him as their F a lot, which means he kind of lines up looking like a Z and ends up being the slot motion guy. Jaden Reed is kind of our F. What's crazy is these two are very similar in that regard. Jaden Reed played a lot of Z at Michigan State, and really what Tutu Atwell did was play a lot of Z with the Rams to try to fill that gap while their two studs were out. Now, when you look at his grades this year, 72.7, last year a 68.3, this year a 70.1, 68.3, and then this year a 72.7. And when you look at where he lined up, this is what I'm talking about. He was in the slot 36% of the time and out wide 63% of the time this year. The year before, in the slot 43% of the time, out wide 56% of the time. And then the year before, he was primarily a slot receiver at 54% of his snaps and only 44 outside. So his outside lining up wide split increased to this tune starting at 22 from 44 to 56 to 63. And again, a PFF grade. Pretty solid there to 72. What do you guys think about him? 5'9", 165. Does he help fill a void while Christian's out? He's obviously the totally opposite receiver from Christian, but he can be another dude that can run the jet sweeps. He can also be a guy that can line up Z or in the F. He knows the offense. It might free up Jaden Reed a little bit for the right price, of course. And I'll try to pull up his market real quick too.
Not opposed to it, but he would not be my first choice.
Got it.
And I think you hit it on the head. He's not going to fill the void of Scoot not being there, and adding some depth behind Reed. Yeah, that would make sense. And he's only got a couple years on Jaden Reed. Drafted in 21, so he's 25. I think you'd have to commit to more time too. He'd probably be looking for a longer, right, more like a 3 to 5 year deal kind of range. I just I don't know. I've said it before. I want a big body receiver, someone with good hands, decent speed. Whether we have to go to the draft or we got to get Tay back here, whatever it is. But I'm just not interested in sub 6 foot, skinny, short receivers.
Got it.
If that makes sense. I'm a little biased, I guess.
Tim said he wants some meat on the bone, Emilio. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I hear that.
You're ready to go.
Yeah, and I would be on that, but I think I have that kind of same doubt there. But Devontae Smith isn't much bigger than 170, I would say. So if you can play, you can play. A couple of guys in the chat saying, can he block? I think that I'm not sure if he was the one that they kind of moved in motion and, had him fill the C gap, but that's going to be key for anybody that comes onto this team. I would just say that him being a small slot guy, don't see that leaning towards where we were going with Tucker Kraft and another tight end, Musgrave, and trying to go heavy. I just don't see that fitting in.
Yeah, as Coach Lynn says here, it says he's 165, which means he's 150. Shaking my head. There you go. I know that's right, man. So Tutu Atwell won. We don't have a market value on him. Obviously, that's kind of hard to judge there. He finished the year with 580 yards on 43 receptions. So 580, he'll probably land somewhere between the $2 to $4 million a year range, something like that. And again, I think he's going to have a limited market for the very reason that Tim and Emilio both said, like an undersized receiver. It's not like every team can use that, right? So definitely the case. Now, I think there's a chance he lands a gig with San Francisco, the LA Rams, the Miami Dolphins, and potentially the Packers for the right price. So just keep that in mind. Last one here, another wide receiver. His name is Tim Patrick. Again, we're combing the bottom of the barrel here, boys. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel. who is out there. All right. Now, Tim, look at this, sir.
6'4", 212 looks like a receiver.
Okay.
He's thick. He is thick. All right, here's what we got PFF wise. Right. First of all, he's 31 years old. This will just be a 1 or a 2 year stopgap here, right? PFF wise, 66.8 this year, 71 last year, 74 the year before that, 66 a year before that, and his rookie year was a 60. So obviously he's not one of these dudes that's just going to go out there and light it up. Probably won't have much of a market at all. This is one of those dudes you could bring in as a veteran to help the wide receiver core, 6'4", 212.
Thick.
Could play a goon, right? Get in there and block a little bit. But again, you look at the wide receiver room, what you got to ask yourself is, who are you taking off the field to put Tim Patrick out there? Are you taking Dobbs off the field? No. Are you taking Jaden Reed off the field? No. Are you taking Tay Wicks off the field? I don't think the coaches are, but I can see where an argument can be made there for him to play that role that Scoot did if his run blocking is good enough. Let's take a look at his run blocking. 58, 50, 84, 56, 54, 30, 61, 84, 73, 75, 58, 65, 60, 56, 71, 54, and 70. So his run block as a receiver ended up being 64.9. The other thing I noticed here too, boys, no penalties, none whatsoever. That's a positive. If you're in there blocking and blocking pretty effectively most of the year, right, that you didn't get called for a single hold or illegal procedure or crackback or anything like that. I don't know, man. Might be worth taking a shot on for the right price. I don't know.
I'm with Respect Oranges. It's Tay or no one.
Yep.
Probably going to be nobody then, boys.
Yeah, I think that I'm
complaining about the drops. All right, I don't want to hear it. Go ahead, Maria.
Well, we were last in the league this past year, so we can't get worse than that in drops. So I'm honestly fine leaving all those trains at the station unless we're hooking up to Tay. I really don't want any of them.
Yeah, for me, it's Tay or Chris Godwin, Tim. That's where I'm at, man. If you go after one, right?
I agree.
Because if you ask yourself that question again, who are you? Let me ask you, who are you taking off the field for Tay or Chris Godwin? Okay. Would you take Romeo Dobbs off the field for Tay or Chris Godwin? I would. I would. Would you take Jaden Reed off the field for one of those two guys? That's tough because he's a slot, right? And then we're going to be an 11 a lot.
Right.
Would you take Tay Wicks off the field for one of those two dudes?
Yeah.
I would too.
Tay. Yeah.
So that, to me, makes it worth it to go get someone like a Tay or a Chris Godwin. It really does. Now, the problem with Chris Godwin, is he going to get in there and do that, what you need him to do with that close Z split, where you want him in there blocking like Christian Watson? That'll probably be used strategically for people like Malik Heath, someone like that, right, to get in there and try to do the dirty work. I could see that. But, again, the reason we want to do this is because we talked about kind of the upper echelon free agents. I went through and tried to comb through some of these key positions where we feel like we've got needs, and that's all I got for you. I wish I had better news. That's it. The market
I could help.
Yeah. I think when it comes to receiver, we just, we do the right thing, right? We just go ahead and draft Jaden Higgins in the draft, and well,
there you go. So, you got multiple options, obviously, in the draft if you want to go receiver. I hope they don't do that in the first round unless they just got an absolute slam dunk grade on one of these guys. When I look at my cheat sheet here, the receivers I'm excited the most about, you got Tataro McMillan out of Arizona. You got wide receiver Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. You got wide receiver Jaden Higgins, you were just talking about, Tim. Wide receiver Jack Beck out of TCU. Wide receiver Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Tez Johnson out of Oregon, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, Nick Nash out of San Jose State, Jalen Noel out of Iowa State, Torrey Horton out of Colorado State, Pat Bryant out of Illinois, Ricky Watt out of UNLV, Elijah Badger out of Florida, Joey Hobart out of Texas State, and LeJontay Wester out of Colorado. What that tells you is you've got a bunch of different options. Probably going to be drafting a receiver this year. I personally don't think it'll be in the first round. I think Goody's going to make one of his patent second or third round wide receiver picks. And don't be surprised if you look up next year and go, damn, this boy pretty good at football.
Maybe we can deep dive some of those outside of the top 100 receivers or something. Because I got a couple names on my list that I thought, being further into the draft, maybe third, fourth, fifth round, that might be on the board. Maybe we could go over some of those prospects, because a lot of those guys that we mentioned right now are probably going to be gone first or second round for sure. So if Goody doesn't pull the trigger in the second round on a receiver, what are our options, rounds 3 through 7 kind of approach.
Yeah, I'm seeing this a lot in the chat. I want to get your all's take and we'll wrap up with this. Fred McFarley, don't be surprised if Romeo Dobbs retires, boys. Randy Cleavers, Watson won't be ready and Dobbs might retire. Need someone. I'm seeing Dobbs might retire. Has somebody reported that? Is somebody saying something? Am I missing anything here?
I have not seen any reports at all.
Are you guys?
I just caught the ball.
Are you guys just saying like, hey, he may retire because of the concussion, or have you heard something? Please specify in the chat. Oh my God. Did they really just? I can't tell if he's being serious or not.
Should we put that?
Everybody's laughing, so I don't know if it's serious or not. What do we?
Fred McFarley. Yeah,
I said he's serious. Okay, so hold up. Now, wow. Let me handle this, Tim. Oh. Fred McFarley, please hear me out here, sir. I need you to call into the show right now. No, I'm just kidding. Is he saying he has a source, or is that just his opinion?
This is your opinion. It's a fact. What movie?
Days of Thunder.
No, My Cousin Vinny. Come on, unbelievable.
So yeah, everybody says they may not let him play because of liability. Okay, who is saying this other than the guy you mentioned? That so he it is sourced. Fred McFarley says there is a source. It's an unnamed source.
It's an unnamed one though.
Yeah, okay, got it. All right, so there's. Go ahead,
ready to go.
I can't read it, Mario.
Fred McFarley says it's his wife's hairdresser that the source came from.
It's a lot of the knot, dude. Oh man, So Turtle says Cap. I'm with you. Is it possible? I guess. Holmes MD1 says, "Well, I'm a doctor, so."
He's limited right now. He's going to be limited until preseason.
That broke me up, boys. I'm just telling you right now. Anything else we got? Are we good here? Is this show sucked enough for everybody tonight?
I don't know. Maybe we could just make up some more stuff to speculate on, right? Got any more wild ideas? Any more anonymously sourced factoids?
No, not here.
Hey, I'll tell you this. Put it this way. You want my take on the whole thing? Tua's still playing football.
Mm-hmm. Everybody said he's going to be done. He ain't going to do it.
He's going to retire. He did too much. Yeah.
He took your jobs.
Yeah. Now Greg Rice is really trying to get us canceled. He says, quick mock draft. Oh, not tonight, Greg. I'm tired. I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. Listen, we woke up this morning. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning under the covers, right? I'm sweating. I'm like, man, it's hot. This. Yeah. I woke up and I was hot. I was like, man, why is it hot in here? And I realized, why's my fan not going? Oh, the power's out. Okay, got it. I'm going back to bed. I woke up 15 minutes later and my teeth were chattering because it was 9 degrees outside. And I'm telling you, it just plummeted in the house, boy. Mm-hmm. So we didn't get it above 57 degrees until like 3 o'clock today.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, I know y'all wanted to hear that, right? And this is, as Rick says, right after the food poisoning, right? How's the food poisoning? It sucked. It sucked bad. Once again, Mandy poisoned me. It's twice now. So just so you guys know, if Clayton magically disappears off the face of the earth, you boys keep this thing going, okay? You got all my passwords. You're good to go. Keep it rolling along. We'll see you on the other side. You know what I mean? One of those deals. So anything else?
No. See you in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. Emilio, in the morning.
You heard it from a fan? No. I got to grind stumps tomorrow.
All right, got it.
Sit your butt outside.
That's it, guys. We're out of here. Me and Tim will be back first thing in the morning for a Good Morning Lambo. Emilio will be grinding stumps over at the Oval Office. Everyone have a good evening.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.